Hello, my name is Patrick Moore,
I'm Marlisa McLaughlin.
and I'd like to welcome you to Health Buzz.
Perspectives on natural healing.
Well, our last show, we started off a new program. We embarked on a program on the world's healthiest foods, and we were very fortunate to have Maureen Rocci from the Yale Cancer Center to help us with that. And I think I want to compliment you for your executive production of that show
Thank you, Patrick.
and things like that.
I loved the show. I thought it was great, and thank you, Maureen. You looked great on camera. You had so many beautiful things to add, and I'm very grateful for that.
She got some nice reviews. In fact, there was a Dr. Paul Lewis, I think, who was really, just taken with her quite a bit, and thought she did a fabulous job. So thank you, Maureen.
Yeah, come on back.
Yes, and on those foods we covered, I mean, we covered coconut, one of the healthiest foods on earth, which you and I both, use daily in our routine.
I love it in my coffee every morning now. And if I forget things, my sister's like, "Did you put your coconut oil in your coffee this morning?" I'm
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. And of course, celery, which kind of you were commenting, you won't ever look at it the same way, right?
Ever again, it's another case of, oh boy, when I visualized it on the tray at the dinner parties and it's poorly left aside, I'm thinking, I'm never going to do that again. And for stress release, for social activity, like at a party, most people tense to begin with, so grab the celery.
Yeah, well, the one thing about celery I want to make a comment on is that it's not as if you can take one little piece and now stress is gone. Maybe a glass of wine might be better.
That too.
But the therapeutic dose was about 4 stalks juice. So.
Well, if you're really nervous, you can gnaw away at that.
Now, what did you think of our last food we covered? Cayenne. We did that cayenne ritual and.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
We have actually taken the cayenne before our shows,
Yes.
just to get us ready to go, and especially if you're fatigued when you've been practicing for a long time, and then all of a sudden it's showtime.
It's amazing energizer, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Well, on our World Healthiest Foods Part 2 today, we're actually going to end our show with a similar example, doing an Aztec tribal drink of fire, using one of the most widely craved foods on earth and combining it with cayenne. We're also going to show you one of the foods that no other food has been tested that can actually enhance our balance. Particularly as we age, we start to lose our balance and gait and things like that. And as a benefit, it's a phenomenal memory enhancer.
That's going to be a surprise to everyone, I think.
And the other food we're going to be covering, of course, is something that a lot of people take for granted, but it's something that has remarkable health benefits. So we'll get into that in a minute. But one of the missions of our show was to also share some news from the alternative media. We talked about how mainstream media doesn't really cover a lot of natural nutrients, mainly prescription drugs, and a lot of great things going on, discoveries in science and things like that. But part of our mission of our show with Marlisa and myself is to cover a few points. So today we're going to start implementing that program, and we got a couple of ideas we want to share with all of you.
Yeah, so one thing in particular is there's been a lot of concern and worry about our juvenile population on drugs. But there's another juvenile population right now that we might want to take a better look at. And the Seattle Times has reported that they've done some research on the fish swimming around the Puget Sound near Seattle, Washington. Now, there's a sewer treatment plant close by, and they've done some research there for filtering and to see how well they can take our pharmaceuticals and our personal care products out of the water. And guess what's happening? It's going into the fish. And I just wanted to report that different things have been found, like over 80 substances, 80 compounds they've found already.
You mean like drugs and over-the-counter?
Drugs and over-the-counter, things like the neurotoxin mercury, which most people are familiar with, finding mercury in fish.
Yes.
But numerous antidepressants. You've got Zoloft, Tagamet, Valium, OxyContin, Darvon, nicotine and caffeine, which you can imagine, fungicides, antiseptics, anticoagulants, Flonase, the harmless Flonase.
So you
I see so many different things. Tylenol, Paxil.
What's basically happening is, I never even thought of this before.
Me either.
That we have these sewage processing plants that are supposed to process all the bad stuff and things like that, and then release this into the pristine waters off Seattle, right?
You wouldn't even think the waters would be corrupt.
So all these fish are showing up with all these prescription drugs and over-the-counter drugs in them?
In their tissue.
Yeah.
They certainly are. And it's not so much the fault of the processing plants. They're doing the best they can. Actually, Betsy Cooper, the permit administrator for Kings County Wastewater Treatment Division near the Sound, stated, Treatment plants in Kings County are effective in removing some drugs in wastewater, but many drugs are recalcitrant, and they remain. So, such as seizure drugs and ibuprofen.
A lot of these are vital drugs that keep people well. They actually can save their lives.
Right.
So this is not a reflection on people using medications and drugs, but
Not
I think we,
whatsoever.
across America, we should all be going to, examining this, because the toxicologist, I mean, what's going on out there? We just kind of assume that everything is purified and cleansed into
We
the
sure
water,
do.
and it's turning out that they can't break down in their present technology seizure drugs, or I read that ibuprofen, very hard to break that down.
Can't do it.
So they process in the sewage plants and it ends up in the water, and it's in all the fish we're eating.
Correct.
There was a study, there was another study that came out in the Baltic, at the Scandinavian countries. I mean, they're catching fish and finding out that, they've got cholesterol drugs in them, antibiotics.
Yes, that's another big one, finding in antibiotics, which weaken your immune system. So there's a whole network of things going on.
Now, these are trace amounts, but it's accumulating. It's not
Large.
something dramatically to be concerned about, but something we as a planet, and environmentalists and the foods we eat, we want to be aware of it. And maybe we should be all calling our local, sewage plants, perhaps, right? And
Well, there's another thing to also be concerned about, or it's a concern, but it's also a consideration, so we don't get too hot on the plants. It's that our sewage fields, the leaching is going in through. So there are some things going into our water system that they can't actually even control. So so the solution that was suggested at one point, it wasn't a solution, but it's something to think about, is really consider when you're taking whatever it is you're taking. Like sometimes I'll say to my son with a headache, well, automatically I was raised on have a Tylenol and aspirin.
Yeah.
And he's actually come forth and said, no, I'm just going to lay down and rest. And sure enough, it goes on his own. You find your natural ways to, or cayenne pepper.
Exactly, and for everyone out there watching this show, we had one of the best psychologists in America, Dr. Dorothea Braginski, on one of our previous shows, and the title of the show is America Over-Medicating? And this show, and Marlisa and myself, we're not against medications or anything per se, but are we over-medicating was the theme of the show, and that's something I recommend to all of you to take a look at that show, Health Buzz on YouTube, and get some ideas and ways that you can find natural remedies to alleviate some of these concerns. So what should we do? Should we call up our local sewage plants, talk to the toxicologists, or get all the toxicologists around and find out what's going on in our local, lakes, seas, things like that?
It'd be good to know what kinds of things are floating and swimming in our waters.
And start some, with our politicians and things like that, because they're not aware of this.
Become proactive.
And think of what is going on in Flint, Michigan, with the lead. With the kids in the water system.
Yeah, there's a lot of things showing up now.
So this might be another new issue that might emerge if we get a lot of activists looking at it and examining it locally.
Because I would have thought Seattle, pristine waters.
Yes.
I wouldn't have thought that would be happening.
Yes.
Just by the nature of the ocean.
Well, that's a really great issue, and I think that something we're definitely going to look at, and I'm glad we brought it up in Health Buzz. The last issue, and I'm going to be brief about this, is what's called the DARK Act, and that's denying Americans the right to know. And this has to do with GMO foods, genetically modified organisms. And the state of Connecticut, which we're from, passed a law that if 4 contiguous states come together and agree with Connecticut, then we will mandate labeling of all foods that are GMO. And I think this is a pro-choice, pro-states' rights issue that we should be knowledgeable, or at least the consumer should be aware if a food's been genetically modified, and let them make the choice, for better or for worse. And what's happening is, the state of Vermont is the first state that is going into operation this summer, where they're going to implement that mandatory labeling. However, in Congress going through right now, which is called the DARK Act, is they're going to prohibit any state from going out on its own to have their own rights to develop their own labeling laws. So this is something that I just wanted everyone to be aware of, who are activists out there, that there have been, I think there are some great scientists out there that are doing wonderful things with the food in terms of developing genetic structures to add a vitamin to a poor country where kids are going blind or things like that. There are many issues like that. There are great things going on. But Roundup glyphosate, which is in the Monsanto weed killer. I mean, one of the concerns we have is that this summer, or actually I think it was the World Health Organization declared that it's probably a carcinogen and that it's getting into our trace amounts of food and corn.
And isn't it also getting into our cotton, which affects our female population?
Cotton, soy, beets, and of course cotton. And we never thought about that, but what are some cotton products?
Well, there are some feminine products that use a lot
Feminine
of
hygiene products.
Right, yes, and also gauze.
Hospitals,
bandages,
things
yes.
like that, they found trace amounts of this potentially carcinogen in all these cotton products. There was a great study in Argentina recently that was released. So, I mean, I'm not against this per se, but it's something that we want to make people
Just
aware
being
of.
aware.
That I am a strong believer in state rights, and that I think that call your congressman and be an activist, and so we can have a pro-choice on this issue of at least knowing what's in our food, and they can be labeled. And I want to applaud Campbell's. Campbell's.
Oh, that's right. Yay for
Campbell's has mandated that all their foods are going to be GMO. And so, thank goodness, I mean, that's a manufacturer taking leadership and giving consumers the right to know what's in their food.
So also, if you know of anyone who is the head of a company, just encourage them to put those labels on, because there is individual choice. A company can choose individually, even though the state as a whole is not mandated to present that on the label.
Excellent. And Whole Foods is another company that I think in 2018 they've committed that all their foods would be
Oh, that's great.
at least labeled, or whether GMO or non-GMO, but at least labeled. So, okay, those are our two little health issues that we wanted to share with you, and we'll have many more in the future. But we're going to kick off our healthiest food shows, and let's start with
Blueberries.
blueberries. Now, how do you like your I mean, we're in New England where blueberries grow wild, and they're grown on the farms. And how do you like your blueberries? Or
I like them just in my hand and into my mouth. I just love blueberries. I love them on my oatmeal. I love oatmeal without blueberries too, but I will eat blueberries whenever I see them.
yeah, they're one of the most powerful foods on earth in nature. And blueberries, one great thing about them is you can buy them frozen, because when they freeze them right away after they're picked, they're holding in all those wonderful ingredients and nutrients. And don't you love that? I mean, that color in nature is rare.
It's beautiful. It's also a rare pigment when you're using color for art. And I find that the color pigment blue is very, very different in working with it in any medium. So I found it interesting that it has also a very powerful effect on your foods.
And you find that in nature, that foods that have these deep, rich, dark, really special colors, I mean, that's nature telling us and giving us a lesson that there are amazing nutrients to be discovered. And the more we uncover all this science, you can never look at food the same way.
No, not at all, can you?
Just like you probably didn't, you said you didn't respect celery that much, right?
Not until the show. I really didn't.
I know, now we got, oh my goodness, celery. What a fantastic food, and we never respected it. But some of the aspects of blueberries that are phenomenal is that they have found that they have a remarkable effect on, call it a brainberry, brain food, a food that can actually make you smarter and make you sharper and help preserve your brain function as you age. So studies can help with your balance, which goes and disappears as you age. So studies, the Tufts University has a U.S. Department of Agriculture Human Nutrition Center. Best scientists in the world, best doctors, PhDs, and they're always studying this food. Thank God we have them, because we don't have a lot of people out there. It's mainly corporate money that's going in to study new drug applications that could be patented. But they found in their studies that blueberries have a remarkable effect, particularly on short-term memory, and taking a cup of blueberries once a day over a period of 8 weeks can increase your short-term memory, which as we age,
Diminishes.
The short-term memory is really diminishing, can increase by almost 100%.
That's just so remarkable. And
stunning.
Now I know why I've been taking so many blueberries lately.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, blueberries, power food, brain food, things like that. Buy them frozen, buy them fresh in season, and put them on your cereal, put them in your smoothies, and enjoy them.
Now, actually, aren't they also just as powerful, if not even more powerful, for UTI, urinary tract infection?
Oh, great point. Because
like the cranberry, I think most people are common with knowing that, but the blueberry, I didn't realize that until recently.
Great insight, because blueberries, I mean, they found some of the same compounds that keep the E. coli from adhering to the bladder tissue. Which is exactly what cranberries do. They almost cause it a soapy, washy effect so that the E. coli slips out. So not everybody likes to eat cranberries. They're kind of sour.
Right. They can struggle with that, especially the real good cranberries.
Yeah. And the cranberry juice, I mean, the cranberry juice it just doesn't have enough nutrients in it. I mean, it's all diluted. So if you can eat cranberries, but it's hard to, I mean, blueberries, it's hard to eat cranberries. So wonderful effects. Thank you for bringing that up.
And eye
Oh, the
health also.
antioxidants, blueberries are some of the most powerful antioxidants on earth. So you not only make you smarter, but protect your eye, particularly the retina. And also, if you remember World War II, the British pilots, they would always eat bilberry, jam, bilberry jam before they go off on their flights because they found compounds in it that helped their night vision tremendously in their eyesight. So blueberry is a relative, and they found the same compounds in blueberry. So brain, prevent UTIs, antioxidants.
My health skin. How about the skin?
Well, anytime you have this powerful antioxidant, right, is an anti-inflammatory, so it's wonderful for the skin. And but one of the biggest breakthroughs at the Nutrition Center at Tufts was that they've tested so many foods, and only one food they found that affects a part of the brain for balance. For balance. And this is really crucial because as we age, we start to lose our balance. Part of our brains, starts aging. People are following more readily. They have what's called the gait, how well you walk and your speed and your balance when you walk. So remarkable nutrients in blueberry, the only food tested that they find that can have this amazing effect. So think again for all the aging population and also for the younger population, but mainly aging population. Brain wellness. Go to any of these nursing homes, people can remember when they're 10 years old, 20 years old, but they can't remember yesterday. And so short-term memory power, 100% improvement, a cup a day over a period of 8 weeks, and the balance, because losing your balance, the risk factor, there's 700,000 hospitalized falls a year and a hip fracture, and you can be in real trouble. So remarkable effect with that. So. We found nutrients can also help dramatically with heart function, lowering the fats in your bloodstream called triglycerides by 50%, and something called homocysteine, which activates plaquing of your arteries. It reduces it by 50%. So heart healthy, and recently they've even found life extension and immune boosting aspects testing it in animals. Little mice and fruit flies and things like that. And if they took those same studies and they compared them to human, could extend human life by 22 years. That's if you're a firefly, which I don't think you are.
Do they last 22 years?
Yeah. So that's blueberries, and let's move on to our next food. Okay, you take the lead on this one.
Oh, one of my favorites, standard oatmeal. It's another one of those simple foods, but to actually think about what oatmeal can bring to your overall health and your stamina, remarkable. So,
now, what images does oatmeal evoke when you think of oatmeal?
Oh, probably your grandmother in the kitchen with a wooden spoon stirring. Yeah, and actually Dorothy, when she was on, talked about the doctor coming in and her mother cooking lots and lots of oatmeal because they were referring to health with food rather than taking your pharmaceutical drugs. So she actually referred to oatmeal on that show, which I thought was pretty interesting. Oatmeal's fantastic. And at some points it did get a bad rap with certain diet trends because of high carbs. But let's talk about fiber because we really need it. Yeah. And we have got two kinds of fiber. We've got the soluble or the insoluble. So your soluble fiber is going to absorb water and it ferments with the bacteria as it passes through your intestinal tract.
So it's a prebiotic. It helps grow back
absolutely.
Our microbiome, which we did a nice show on.
So it becomes viscose and it will help move things along. So it's really good. But it also has insoluble fiber, which does not absorb water, so will act as a bulking agent, and it will just help keep everything consistent. So there's a lot of really good stuff, and it will hold the nutrients in.
Sure, and it's remarkable because of that fiber, and it's what's called low glycemic, so it doesn't up your blood sugar rapidly, so it stabilizes blood sugar. It's really good heart healthy, good for preventing diabetes or helping with diabetics and things like that. And
so for your stamina, you have that good stick to your ribs food.
Oh, the stick to the ribs! Wow, yeah, that's weight control. I mean, if you have some oatmeal, you can't eat for hours after that, right? It does stick to the ribs.
And it's feeding your whole system.
Yeah.
You're really getting a lot of benefits.
Yeah. I mean, they found the FDA allows some claims, with oatmeal, one of the few foods, that it can be very heart healthy and reduce the risk of heart disease. And Harvard University has found that regular oatmeal eaters, can reduce heart disease risk by up to 20%. So, I mean, pretty remarkable food. Another aspect is we don't think of oatmeal as being a dramatic immune booster.
No, not at all. I would not have even put that
Yeah,
together.
it doesn't even think, you don't even think of it. But oatmeal has what are called beta glucans, which are polysaccharides. It's a fancy name in the fiber that these are, glucose molecules, carbohydrate molecules. And they found these beta glucans. They found them in baker's yeast. They find them in, some of the mushrooms which we've done a show with, on the shiitake, maitake, reishi mushrooms and cordyceps, that they have a remarkable effect in activating. They're called biological response modifiers. They activate actually a lot of our cells, natural killer cells, neutrophils, lymphocytes, macrophages, to behave more powerfully.
Right.
So acting to our immune system to protect it. So here we are, blood sugar stability, fill yourself up, regularity, and things like
And
that.
strength.
And strength and immune, and very low gluten level in oats for anyone who's concerned about oat, and good protein levels. So the other thing is, inflammation, anti-inflammatory.
So oatmeal baths for all skin
colloidal oatmeal.
irritations, right?
Yeah.
That's
You
one
see
of-
it with eczema, any type of inflammation of the skin, poison ivy, poison sumac, powerful anti-inflammatory. So people take, I don't know if you've ever taken an oatmeal bath before, but I know I have, because I'm very susceptible to it.
I know everyone I know has taken an oatmeal bath at some point.
Yes. So, anything that's anti-inflammatory externally, internally too. So that's one other benefit. And the last thing is, that phrase that men used to use, sow your oats.
Sow your oats.
Sow your oats. Do you guys out there ever think about where did that phrase come from? Sow your oats. We know what it means out there and what it symbolizes, but why did that develop, and what is the underlying reason for it? They've discovered that there's this underlying amino acid, that's a protein called arginine, which actually enhances what's called nitric oxide, which is the same nutrient that Viagra is based on. Now, there's a small amount of it in oats, so it's not, I wouldn't call
You'd
it.
have to eat a lot of oatmeal.
And every time I've eaten oatmeal, I feel I can't move.
Right, so that could...
It's in your gut. But that's one of the reasons I think that scientifically it developed. So let's get to our last food. What is the most craved, widely desired food on earth?
Oh, I would have to say chocolate.
Are you sure?
Well, I think
chocolate.
so.
It's not pickles?
Not unless
Not
you're pregnant.
onions?
No, for men and women, I would say. I don't know, at least
Chocolate.
Chocolate, definitely.
Chocolate is nature's morale booster. Nature's morale booster and mood elevator and energizer. Tell me about your experiences with chocolate.
When I was traveling early on, I found that my traveling partner, who was a female, actually, we always were craving chocolate, and we would go, actually would sort of like plan a route to make sure that we could get a chocolate stop in. And I thought at the time it was just for the energy of the chocolate, but I think now that I know that it actually can calm the mood. There's a lot of stress when you're traveling, so...
Absolutely. Well, we'll be quick on this. There's some amazing nutrient science has discovered. Dopamine and serotonin, all these antidepressants and mood elevators and feelings of love. There are actually these compounds in there that chocolate has. And also magnesium, which is your mineral that calms the mind and everything like that. So definitely there's a lot of science behind that, of the ingredients that are in it. The other aspect is, remarkable studies on heart health with chocolate at Harvard and all over the world that can have a positive effect on diminishing elevated blood pressure. It helps produce what's called nitric oxide, which is the gas that Viagra is based on. So it enhances circulation, relaxes and dilates your blood vessels. Everything flows smoothly, so you have a reduction of risk of stroke and heart disease and things of that nature. Brain function. Unquestionably, numerous studies enhances brain function, particularly for kids and things like that. So, helps better circulation to the brain. And that same nitric oxide, I have it in my skincare product, the arginine, that amino acid. So if you get better circulation to the skin, what happens?
All right, you're going to look a lot healthier.
Absolutely. And there have even been studies with the Kuna Indians. They're an Indian tribe off the Panama Islands, and they found that they drink 40 cups of unprocessed cocoa a week. 40 cups.
That's amazing.
And they found that their reduction, in heart disease is 1,300%, and cancer 630%. So remarkable health effects. Harvard's been studying them for decades. So amazing aspects in chocolate.
I haven't actually something to share with you I had forgotten about, but talking about the Kuna, I do believe it's a compliment to say when people are looking really well, you look old today, because that's supposed to reveal your wisdom. So having all of this chocolate and being healthy and youthful, and then having the compliment be old, it really is a nice way to really represent the lifestyle.
One thing about chocolate is, again, it's rated by, what's the cocoa level, and you want to get a 70%, 60% or above, because it's a higher content and less sugar.
And it's well marked, I find, on chocolates.
Exactly, and you don't want that high sugar content and things like that. And we're going to talk a little. We have a professor of chocolate here who's going to be our guest, our third grade student resident, who we'd like to get our perspective. So this is Carlina Moore, Professor Chocolate, and you want to make a case for chocolate for kids. Now, regular milk or chocolate milk?
Obviously chocolate milk. Everyone would prefer chocolate milk because it tastes better and makes people more happy.
Yeah, but is it a health food?
It's a vegetable and a fruit.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's a vegetable
and a fruit.
Well, we're always giving advice. You need at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And how can you prove that?
Because cocoa beans are beans, and beans are vegetables.
Oh.
And cocoa pods have seeds, and fruits usually have seeds.
Oh, that makes sense.
So are you suggesting that parents should be giving children, 5 servings a day of chocolate?
Of course I am.
Oh, well, don't you think that might be a little too much?
Not if there's not a lot of sugar, right?
Yeah, you can actually take, and we're going to show you what you can do to really make chocolate actually a dramatic health food without all that sugar. I buy, and I recommend people to buy, this cocoa powder unprocessed raw organic. And this, blueberries were a powerful antioxidant, and but this is 700% even higher, one of the highest in nature, unprocessed chocolate.
And you can actually get blueberries covered in cocoa powder.
That's
I've seen
even
them.
better.
That would be the big bang. That would really take you far for the day.
That's even amazing. What we've done is we're going to do, the Aztecs used to have this remarkable drink, part of the Aztec Empire, that the Spanish took back from Montezuma, but they would take unprocessed chocolate and mix it with cayenne, and we did that cayenne show. Both together have a dramatic health effect on enhancing circulation. So I'm going to invite Jerry, if Jerry can come up. So we've taken, regular unprocessed chocolate is a little bit bitter. So we've taken a therapeutic sweetener called xylitol, which comes from the beech tree. It tastes just like sugar, looks just like sugar, and so you can sweeten it with xylitol, vitacost.com. And we're going to show you what the Aztecs did in their tribal ceremonies to enhance, their energy. Take the raw unprocessed chocolate with the cayenne. Are you going to wait for us?
No way, with chocolate in hand?
Professor Chocolate?
Yeah.
You just can't control yourself with chocolate, can you?
Nope.
No. Okay. Have a drink to our audience, okay? Cheers.
Cheers. It smells really good. Wow, what a kick.
What a kick.
Can
So
feel
now you're an Aztec princess.
And I feel like when I'm going to drink the rest of this, it's really good. It's hot.
So chocolate used therapeutically and wisely without all that extra sugar can actually be so beneficial for not just adults but for children. So I want to thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
For tuning into our show, and we'll be continuing this series on health, the world's healthiest foods. And I can't even imagine what Marlisa has in mind for our next 3 foods.
I can't either.
So
Thanks for joining us.
So thank you, everybody. Bye now.